Players have never had more options than they do right now when it comes to video games, and as budgets increase and more technology allows them to become more impressive and immersive, the world of games just keeps getting bigger. Now over 3,000 games were released on the Steam store in 2021, so it's natural for a few games to slip through the cracks and be missed by audiences and critics. There are a lot of hidden gems out there, so if you've already made it through your wishlist for the year, why not take a chance on one of the most underrated games of 2021? You might just be pleasantly surprised. Now on top of the list is Little Nightmares 2, which is a sequel to the first one that follows Six and her new companion now, Mono, expanding on the elements that made the first game so great, from the 2.5D art style to the frightening bosses and a turn that pairs moments of calm with a creeping sense of dread. Though the fans of the franchise and critics responded lovingly to the game, many still feel that the franchise as a whole is underrated, and I am among them. And that's a shame, because there's really nothing out there quite like this series. Number 2 is Everhood. Now if you're a fan of a 2D role-playing game like I am, then you might be interested in Everhood, which is a dance battle game. Now you take the role of Red, a wooden gnome whose arm is stolen, who must make a strange journey to find the thief that took it. The world of Everhood is filled with doors that lead to different strange places with bizarre creatures. Though the game received critical praise from different outlets for its whimsical settings, rhythm combat and surprising plot twists, it is criminally underrated, and I'm still hoping that this indie title will eventually become a household name. Number 3 is Curse of the Dead Gods. Though this action dungeon crawler isn't as great as Hades, which of course won several awards, it is great in its own right. Even critics who aren't quite as wild about roguelike genres found it to be a ton of fun. Reviews lauded this game for its deeply satisfying gameplay, which manages to still be fun even with the amount of grinding it requires to progress. Many of the fans of the genre have agreed with this assessment and feel like this game is a bit of an unsung hero in the genre. Number 4 is The Medium, which is a horror game. While all gaming involves having a foot in two worlds at once, like physically being in your room, but at the same time being in a medieval adventure exploring an abandoned castle, The Medium employs this concept literally, through Marianne, who is able to navigate two worlds at once, the world of the living and the world of the spirits. Now the game takes a little while to get going, but its slow burn builds as the player makes their way through puzzles and unravels the story, and even critics have praised it for its strong protagonist, brilliant use of split-screen mechanic and frightening imagery. Number 5 is Oddworld Soulstorm. Now this is a direct sequel to Oddworld New and Tasty. The game features the return of the heroic Abe who works to rescue his fellow Modogans, while reckoning the aftermath of massive social changes. Now the game is grittier and darker than its predecessor, placing the protagonist in more danger than he has ever experienced before. Even critics highlighted the iconic design elements of the game, calling it both grimy and beautiful, and particularly praising its 2.5D style and attention to detail. Up next is Psychonauts 2. When the original Psychonauts was released in 2005, it became the epitome of a cult classic. Tons of praise and awards, but nobody expected this game to have a sequel. Now Psychonauts 2 is a trippy platformer that asks players to traverse a gallery of mindscapes, a throwback to 3D platformers of old, complete with collectibles and an ever-improving host of psychic powers. While the story of the game is leagues beyond what you find in most platformers, the main appeal is its levels. Since the game is all about delving into the character's psyche, each mindscape tells a deeply personal story veiled in creative metaphors. Number 7 is Deathloop, which puts players in the shoes of part of a team of visionaries responsible for ensuring the safety of the loop, which is a time loop of debauchery, hedonism and mad science. Anyone that dies in this loop will be reborn once the cycle starts again, so you must work to break the loop and escape the world entirely. But there's just one problem: he doesn't remember anything. And on top of that, there's a mysterious woman named Juliana is ready to kill him at every turn, hunting him throughout the timeline, so breaking the loop will take a lot of intel and a lot of repeated deaths on your part. One of the things I liked about this game is its great variation on how players can choose how they want to approach different situations. So you can use stealth, or you can just decide to use sheer force taking down enemies. At number 8 is It Takes Two, which is a couch co-op, which is a dying art in video games, but Hazelight have tried their best and rekindled this magic with A Way Out, and now they did it with It Takes Two. The game asks the age-old question: what does it take to rekindle love between two parents who are ready for divorce? And apparently the answer is to transform them into dolls and force them to traverse a variety of worlds in an equally diverse series of challenges and game genres. Even though the game keeps players busy with its frenetic game genre swaps, this title's true magic lies in its multiplayer. The game is tough with challenges that require tight cooperation from players, and while half of the fun is predicting each other's moves and working like a well-oiled machine, the other half is to intentionally screw your partner over and over. At number 9 is Kena Bridge of the Spirits. Now this is a breathtaking game. The art design, animation and graphic fidelity are indicative of the studio's pedigree. Moreover, the game sports a strong narrative revolving around facing your mistakes and forgiving yourself. as well as excellent gameplay. The game's play mirrors classic adventure titles like Legend of Zelda, but don't let the game cuteness deceive you. Kena might look like it was made for children, but the game's combat will challenge most players. And at number 10, which is the final on my list, is Life is Strange True Colors. Now this game slightly pivots from the typical Life is Strange formula by featuring a single protagonist, an Asian American queer woman who moved to Heaven Springs to be with his long-lost brother, Gabe. Unfortunately, things take a turn when her life becomes something like a murder mystery. Now Alex has her own superpowers, which is her empathy, which blends well with the interactive elements because of how it can trigger memory and hidden meanings. But some reviewers thought that this ability didn't have enough of an impact to the story and wasn't fully fleshed out, while others also thought that Alex's character actually lacked depth. Even so, the soundtrack and strong character interactions have made this game a favorite among Life is Strange fans and new players. Now, if you think that there's any game from 2021 that is not mentioned in this list and is underrated and deserves to be mentioned, then please write down in the comments below.